Have you ever wondered why you're here? Why life feels like a test, a lesson, or maybe even a puzzle you've lived before? What if the struggles you face today aren't random at all, but echoes from lives you've already lived? In this series, we'll journey deep into the teachings of A Soul's Journey by Peter Richelieu, a fascinating exploration of what happens after death, why we reincarnate, and how every lifetime is carefully woven into a much larger tapestry. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how the soul moves from life to life, but also why your soul chose the exact path you're walking right now. Peter Richelieu's A Soul's Journey isn't just another book about reincarnation. It's written as a first-hand account of out-of-body exploration. After losing his brother, Richelieu began a search for answers. He met a teacher, Acharya, a mystic, who guided him through astral experiences. In these journeys, Richelieu was shown the hidden layers of existence beyond physical death. He encountered souls on different planes, learned about reincarnation, and saw how the soul's true purpose stretches far beyond a single lifetime. What makes this book powerful is that it doesn't speak in vague philosophy. Instead, it shows reincarnation in action, how souls progress, why they return, and what really happens between death and birth. But before we can talk about reincarnation itself, we need to ask, what is the soul, really? According to Acharya's teaching, the body you see in the mirror isn't the real you. It's a temporary vehicle, just like a set of clothes you wear for a season. When those clothes wear out, you discard them. In the same way, the body wears down, and the soul moves on. But the soul, the individualized consciousness, sometimes called the ego, is immortal. Once individualized, it continues its journey forward through countless lifetimes. Here's the key: the soul is not static. It learns, it evolves, it grows in wisdom, compassion, and understanding. That is why reincarnation exists. Without multiple lives, the soul could never experience the countless lessons needed for its growth. Think about it. Could you truly learn patience, courage, forgiveness, or humility in just one short lifetime? Could a single life contain every possible experience the soul requires? This is why reincarnation is essential. Each life is a classroom, and the earth itself is a vast school. Richelieu describes the soul's progression through kingdoms of nature. First mineral, then vegetable, then animal, and eventually human. But here's where things become even more fascinating. Once the soul reaches human consciousness, something changes. Unlike stones, plants, or animals, the human soul develops individuality. It becomes self-aware. It becomes capable of choice, of right and wrong, of love or hate, of compassion or cruelty. This is where reincarnation takes on its real depth. The soul must now use its free will, make choices, and learn from the consequences. In this sense, reincarnation is not punishment, it's opportunity. It's the natural law of spiritual evolution, giving the soul chance after chance to refine itself. You might wonder, if all this is true, why don't we remember our past lives? Wouldn't that make things easier? According to Richelieu's teachings, memory of past lives is usually hidden for a reason. If we carried every memory, every grief, every regret from previous existences, the weight would be unbearable. Imagine living this life while simultaneously remembering the heartbreaks, betrayals, and deaths from a dozen past lives. The forgetting is actually an act of mercy. But here's the twist. Though we may not remember consciously, the soul remembers. Instincts, talents, fears, attractions. Many of these are echoes of past experiences. A sudden gift for music, an unexplained fear of water, or even an instant bond with a stranger may be rooted in forgotten lives. So the forgetting is partial. The lessons remain within the soul, even if the conscious mind doesn't recall the details. Every reincarnation is chosen, not randomly, but with intention. The conditions of each birth, the family, the environment, the struggles are tailored to the lessons the soul still needs to learn. Some lives may be relatively easy, giving space to develop creativity or love. Others may be extremely difficult, forcing the soul to face pain, loss, or limitation. But each has its place in the curriculum. The soul isn't punished by being born into hardship. Rather, it selects with guidance the circumstances most likely to accelerate its growth. Think of it like a student choosing advanced courses after mastering the basics. The harder the class, the greater the growth. But this raises another question. What actually happens when we die, before reincarnation begins again? If the soul leaves the body at death, where does it go, and what exactly happens in those mysterious realms between lives? In part 1, we explored what the soul is, and why a single lifetime could never be enough to master the lessons of existence. But what happens the moment we die? Where does the soul go, and why must it return? According to Peter Richelieu's A Soul's Journey, death is not an end. It's more like stepping out of a suit you've worn for years. The body is laid aside, but the soul, clothed in more subtle layers of energy, continues to live. The moment of death can vary from soul to soul. For some, it's peaceful, almost like waking from sleep. For others, especially those who are deeply attached to earthly life, there may be confusion or resistance. Acharya, Richelieu's teacher, explained that what happens next depends greatly on the soul's state of consciousness. If it has lived a life of love, service, and openness, it often rises smoothly into the astral world. If the life was steeped in selfishness, hatred, or material obsession, the soul may linger in the lower astral planes, places shaped by its own unresolved desires. But whether smooth or turbulent, every soul eventually moves beyond the physical. Death is just the doorway. Richelieu describes the astral plane as the first world souls inhabit after leaving their bodies. The astral body, a luminous replica of the physical, carries the consciousness through this realm. What's striking is that the astral world is not vague or ghostly. It's vibrant, colorful, and dynamic, almost more real than physical life. Mountains, rivers, homes, and even cities exist there, but they are molded by thought and emotion. Souls gravitate toward conditions that reflect their inner state. Those filled with fear or hatred might find themselves in darker astral regions. Those filled with compassion and aspiration rise to brighter planes, surrounded by beauty. In this way, the astral world acts as a mirror. It shows each soul exactly what it has cultivated within. But here's the important part. The astral realm is not a final home. It's a resting place, a stage for reflection and release before moving on. After a time, which may feel like months or even years, the soul drops the astral body just as it dropped the physical one. What remains is the mental body, carrying the essence of thought, memory, and understanding. In the mental plane, the soul experiences a higher kind of life. Freed from earthly passions and astral desires, it focuses on the lessons and truths it has gathered. The mental world is less about scenery and more about clarity. Imagine a place where your deepest aspirations and noblest thoughts are the environment you live in. That's the mental plane. It's a place of integration, where the soul takes in what was learned during the earthly journey and stores it within the deeper self. Here, the soul is surrounded by light, peace, and the company of others who share its level of development. But even this isn't the end. After consolidating its growth, the soul eventually withdraws into its higher self, the causal or spiritual body, where the seeds of experience are stored across lifetimes. So why doesn't the soul just stay in these higher planes forever? Why must it return to Earth again and again? The answer lies in the limits of learning outside the physical world. In the astral and mental planes, growth is more about reflection and rest. They are necessary, but they are not sufficient. True transformation happens through experience in the material world, where choices have consequences, where pain and joy are felt with intensity, and where the soul must act under the veil of forgetfulness. Only on Earth can the soul truly test itself. It is one thing to know patience in a realm of peace. It is another to practice patience when someone insults you, betrays you, or opposes you. It is one thing to know compassion in thought. It is another to show compassion when resources are scarce and suffering surrounds you. Reincarnation provides the arena for these lessons. Without repeated returns to the earth, the soul would stagnate in comfortable realms, never pushed to grow deeper. One of the profound insights from a soul's journey is that souls are not usually forced into reincarnation. Instead, they are guided, counseled, and helped to see what lessons still remain. In higher states of awareness, the soul recognizes its own gaps. Maybe pride, maybe fear, maybe selfishness, and chooses conditions that will challenge those traits. This is why one soul may choose wealth, another poverty. One may choose health, another illness. One may choose a supportive family, another a difficult one. Each choice is linked to a specific lesson. It's not about punishment, it's about opportunity. Every incarnation is like a tailored classroom for the soul's development. Another fascinating concept Richelieu touches on is that souls often reincarnate in groups. These are sometimes called soul families or clusters. Have you ever met someone for the first time and felt an instant connection, as though you've known them forever? Or, conversely, felt instant conflict or distrust with a stranger? These bonds may be echoes of past life connections. Souls weave in and out of each other's lives across incarnations, taking on different roles: parent, child, friend, rival, or partner. Through these repeated interactions, groups of souls evolve together, helping and sometimes challenging one another toward greater growth. The soul's long journey. The reincarnation process continues until the soul has learned all it can under physical conditions. This doesn't mean perfection in the human sense, but rather a maturity where earthly lessons are no longer necessary. At that point, the soul's journey continues into higher realms of spiritual existence, far beyond what most of us can imagine. But here's the pressing question. If reincarnation is driven by lessons and karma, How exactly does this law of cause and effect shape our lives? What is karma really, and how does it determine the conditions of our rebirth? In part 2, we explored what happens to the soul after death, its journey through the astral and mental planes, and why reincarnation becomes necessary. But the real question now is, what determines the kind of life you return to? Why are some born into wealth and comfort, while others face hardship from the very first breath? The answer lies in one word: karma. In a soul's journey, karma is not described as a cosmic judge handing out punishments or rewards. Instead, it is the natural law of cause and effect. Every thought, word, and deed plants a seed. Some seeds bloom quickly in this lifetime. Others lie dormant and reappear in future incarnations. Karma is not about vengeance. It's about balance, correction, and growth. Think of it like this. If you throw a stone into a pond, ripples spread outward. Eventually, those ripples return to the shore. Karma is the ripple effect of consciousness itself. When a soul acts with love and compassion, it sows seeds that return as harmony, opportunity, and joy. When it acts with hatred or selfishness, it plants seeds of suffering that eventually must be faced, not as punishment, but as the soul's own lesson coming back to it. Richelieu emphasizes that Earth is a school, and karma is the curriculum. Every challenge, every blessing, every relationship, all are part of the lessons the soul has chosen or attracted through past causes. If you struggle with betrayal, perhaps you betrayed in a past life. If you experience sudden success, it may be the harvest of effort and discipline carried from another incarnation. But the beauty of karma is that it is never static. At any moment, new choices can plant new seeds. You are not trapped forever in cycles of suffering. With awareness, compassion, and right action, you can create new causes that reshape your destiny. This means that even the heaviest karma is not eternal. It can be transformed by new choices. One of the clearest places karma plays out is in human relationships. Why do some families seem bound by love, while others are riddled with conflict? Why do we feel instant attraction or aversion to certain people? According to Richelieu, these connections are rarely random. Families, friendships, rivalries, and romances are often continuations of karmic bonds from past lives. For example, a soul that once abused power over another may be reborn in a position of weakness under the very person it once dominated, this time to learn humility. A soul that once abandoned another may be reborn as a parent, learning responsibility through the care of a child. It is not about revenge, but about balance. Each relationship becomes a mirror, reflecting back to us the lessons we still need to learn. Here's an important nuance in Richelieu's view. Karma is not only about actions, but also about intentions. Two people might perform the same outward action, but with different motives, and the karmic results will differ. If someone gives money to charity only for pride or recognition, the seed is weak. But if another gives from genuine compassion, the seed carries deep spiritual power. In this way, the law of karma is more subtle than a simple equation of deeds. It measures the heart behind the action. This raises a difficult question. If karma is real, does that mean every tragedy, illness, or hardship is deserved? Richelieu's answer is more compassionate. Suffering is not about blame. It is about opportunity. Yes, some suffering arises from past causes, but it is not handed down as punishment. Instead, it is the very experience the soul needs to balance, to grow, and to transcend. For instance, someone born with illness may be working through past misuses of health or strength. Someone born into poverty may be learning humility, resilience, or empathy. But suffering also has a collective dimension. Souls sometimes choose difficult lives not only for their own growth, but also to awaken compassion in others. A child's illness, for example, may inspire extraordinary love and selflessness in the parents. So suffering is not meaningless. It is woven into the larger plan of evolution. Karma shapes the conditions of life, but free will determines how we respond to those conditions. Imagine karma as the hand of cards you're dealt. Free will is how you choose to play that hand. You may be born into poverty, but will you respond with bitterness or with creativity and perseverance? You may be born into wealth, but will you use it selfishly or to uplift others? Free will is the soul's greatest tool in transforming karma. Even in the harshest conditions, the choice to love, forgive, or serve can shift the entire trajectory of future lives. Richelieu suggests that karmic patterns repeat until they are broken. If you meet anger with anger, the cycle continues. If you meet betrayal with revenge, the chain of pain grows longer. But if you meet anger with patience, betrayal with forgiveness, the cycle ends. In this way, every soul has the power to free itself and others from endless repetition. Each act of love is like a key, unlocking the chains of karma and opening the door to higher growth. The teaching of karma carries both a warning and a promise. The warning: every action matters. Nothing is truly hidden from the law of cause and effect. We cannot escape the consequences of our choices. The promise: every action matters. No act of love, no effort toward truth, no sacrifice for others is ever lost. Even the smallest seed will eventually blossom into fruit. This is why karma is not something to fear. It is the assurance that life is meaningful, just, and purposeful, even when we cannot see the bigger picture. Ultimately, karma is not a judge, but a teacher. It patiently gives us the same lesson until we learn it. Once learned, the lesson disappears. This is why some people seem to live through repeating struggles, financial hardship, broken relationships, or health crises. Until the inner lesson is grasped, the outer pattern continues. But once the lesson is understood, once patience, humility, or forgiveness is embodied, the pattern dissolves, and the soul is free to move on. So karma determines the stage on which we reincarnate, the relationships we meet, and the struggles we face. But that raises a deeper mystery. Who decides these conditions? How does the soul actually prepare for a new life? And what role do guides or higher beings play in this process? How is a new life chosen? And what really happens during the planning of reincarnation? In part 3, we discovered how karma shapes the lessons of each life, and how free will allows us to transform our destiny. But this leads to a fascinating question. Who decides the exact conditions of our next life? Is it forced upon us, or do we choose it ourselves? According to Peter Richelieu's A Soul's Journey, the truth is both more mysterious and more empowering. than we might expect. Richelieu's journeys through the astral worlds revealed that no soul is left to wander aimlessly. After death, each soul is surrounded by helpers, more advanced beings often called guides or teachers. These guides are not there to command or punish. Instead, they serve as mentors. They help the soul review its past life, reflect on the choices made, and recognize the lessons learned or missed. Think of them as compassionate professors in the school of life. They don't hand out grades in the way we imagine, but they do point out where growth has taken place and where more practice is needed. The soul, guided by these teachers, begins to see clearly the karmic threads still unresolved. One of the most profound stages Richelieu describes is the life review. Here, the soul relives its previous life, not only from its own perspective, but also from the perspectives of others it affected. Every act of kindness is felt as joy. Every act of cruelty is felt as pain, not as punishment, but as deep empathy. This review strips away the illusions of self-justification. The soul cannot hide from its motives or its impact. Instead, it comes face to face with truth. And yet, the review is never meant to condemn. It is a process of learning, of awakening compassion, and of motivating the soul to grow. In some accounts, including Richelieu's, there is mention of higher beings, sometimes called a council, sometimes simply teachers of great wisdom, who oversee the process of reincarnation. These beings do not dictate the soul's path, but offer insight and guidance. They present possible scenarios for the soul's next life, showing how different choices could help resolve karma and promote growth. Imagine standing before a vast tapestry of possibilities. Threads of past actions weave into potential futures. The soul, with guidance, selects the pattern most suited to its evolution. One of the most striking ideas in a soul's journey is that reincarnation is rarely forced. The soul itself recognizes the need for growth and willingly chooses to return. But choice does not mean unlimited freedom. The soul cannot simply pick any life it desires, like a menu at a restaurant. The conditions must align with karmic law. For example, a soul that has misused power in the past may not be able to choose a position of authority right away. Instead, it may need to experience life in humble circumstances, learning the lessons of service before returning to leadership. So choice exists within the framework of karmic balance. The soul has freedom, but it is freedom guided by necessity and higher wisdom. During the planning stage, souls are shown possible incarnations, different bodies, families, and environments. Each option carries specific lessons. Some souls may choose lives of comfort, not out of indulgence, but to learn generosity. Others may choose hardship to cultivate resilience. Some may incarnate into cultures or nations where they can contribute to collective progress. The choice of parents is particularly significant. Souls often reincarnate within the same groups, weaving bonds of love and responsibility across lifetimes. A parent in one life may become a child in another, balancing debts and deepening understanding. Even the timing of birth has meaning. The soul selects a period in history that aligns with its karmic needs and its contribution to humanity. Richelieu's teacher explained that the soul does not immediately inhabit the body at conception. Instead, it hovers near the developing fetus, gradually linking itself as the body grows. By the time of birth, the connection is complete, though the soul remains largely unconscious of its greater self. The veil of forgetfulness descends, hiding past lives so the new experience can unfold fresh and unburdened. This entry is often accompanied by a shock. The compression of vast consciousness into the limitations of an infant body, yet it is also an opportunity, a blank slate, a new beginning. We might ask, why does the soul forget everything it planned once it is born? The answer is that forgetting ensures genuine growth. If we remembered every lesson, we would act only from memory, not from authentic choice. By forgetting, the soul is tested in real conditions. Imagine a student taking a test with the textbook hidden. The forgetting is not cruelty. It is the very condition that makes the test meaningful. Still, traces of the plan often seep through. Strong attractions, unexplained fears, natural talents, or a sense of destiny can all be echoes of the soul's pre-birth decisions. Thus, each incarnation can be seen as a sacred contract. The soul agrees to enter the limitations of matter, to experience joy and suffering, to meet allies and adversaries, all for the sake of growth. No contract is accidental. Every detail has meaning, even if hidden from the conscious mind. And yet, within this contract, free will still reigns. The soul can fulfill its lessons with grace, or resist and delay them. The circumstances may be chosen, but the outcome depends on choice. One soul, for example, chose to be born into poverty, not as punishment, but to balance past pride. Another chose a life of illness to develop compassion for others. Each decision reflected deep wisdom and courage. Seeing this process changed Richelieu's understanding of human suffering. He realized that even the hardest lives were not meaningless, but chosen with purpose. So reincarnation is not random, but carefully planned, guided by karma, free will, and the loving counsel of wiser beings. Every birth is a continuation of the soul's journey toward greater wisdom. But this raises the final question. What is the ultimate goal of all this? If we reincarnate again and again, where is it all leading? What is the true purpose of reincarnation? And when does the soul finally graduate from the cycle of birth and death? In part 4, we explored how souls prepare for a new life, guided by teachers, shaped by karma, and clothed in fresh bodies. But this leaves us with the greatest question of all. What is the purpose behind this endless cycle of birth and death? When, if ever, does the soul finally graduate from reincarnation? According to Peter Richelieu's A Soul's Journey, reincarnation is not a trap. It is a process of liberation. The soul is like a seed. At first it lies dormant, unaware of its potential. Through countless lifetimes, it sprouts, grows, and blossoms into the fullness of its divine nature. Each life adds something new: patience, courage, compassion, wisdom. Each challenge chisels away ignorance, selfishness, and fear. Slowly, lifetime by lifetime, the soul awakens to its true self, a spark of the infinite, destined to shine with limitless love and understanding. So the ultimate purpose of reincarnation is perfection of character and unity with the divine source. Richelieu explains that reincarnation continues until the soul has learned all the lessons that earthly life can offer. This doesn't mean perfection in a moralistic sense. It means maturity. A soul that no longer needs to be tested by pain, temptation, or limitation, A soul that has mastered love, service, and wisdom to the degree that earthly existence offers no further growth. At that point, reincarnation ceases. The soul graduates to higher realms of existence, no longer bound to the wheel of birth and death. Imagine leaving behind elementary school after mastering its lessons. You don't keep repeating grades once you're ready for higher studies. Likewise, the soul moves into greater dimensions of being when Earth has fulfilled its purpose. What lies beyond reincarnation? Richelieu suggests that the soul ascends to higher planes of spiritual existence, beyond the astral and mental. Here, the soul joins in greater service, helping guide those still on the path. It becomes more than a student. It becomes a teacher. Some of the beings Richelieu encountered, advanced guides and teachers, were once human souls who had completed their earthly cycle. They now dedicate themselves to assisting others, embodying the truth that growth leads not only to liberation, but to greater responsibility. In this sense, the end of reincarnation is not an escape, but a transformation. The soul becomes a conscious co-worker with the divine plan. It's important to remember that this journey is not mechanical. Souls are not dragged forward against their will. Free will is always preserved. Some souls move quickly, embracing lessons with eagerness. Others delay, resisting growth through selfishness or fear. But no soul is lost forever. The law of evolution is patient, allowing each being infinite time to awaken. This is why compassion is so central. When we see others struggling, repeating mistakes, causing harm, we can remember that they too are souls in process. Just as we once stumbled, so do they. Judgment is replaced with understanding. One of the most comforting insights from a soul's journey is that suffering is never meaningless. Yes, it may be the result of past causes, but it is also the soil in which growth takes root. Every pain endured with courage, every loss met with love, every challenge faced with patience is a victory for the soul. From this perspective, even the darkest experiences can be seen as opportunities. They are the chisels shaping the diamond of the soul. This doesn't mean we should seek suffering, nor that we should ignore injustice. But it does mean that within every hardship lies the seed of transformation. So what does all of this mean for our daily lives? It means that nothing is wasted. Every choice matters. Every act of kindness strengthens the soul. Every moment of forgiveness breaks the chain of karma. Every effort to grow, no matter how small, carries forward into eternity. It also means we can live with patience. If progress feels slow, remember, you have lifetimes. The soul's journey is vast. What matters is not perfection today, but direction. The steady movement toward greater love and wisdom. And finally, it means we can live with hope. Death is not the end. Life is not random. The universe is a school, and each of us is exactly where we need to be. Richelieu's book ends with a vision of humanity transformed. When enough souls awaken to their true nature, the world itself begins to change. Wars diminish, compassion grows, and society reflects the unity of spirit behind all forms. Though this vision may seem far away, it begins with each of us. Every act of growth contributes to the collective evolution of humanity. As more and more souls awaken, the very fabric of earthly life will shift, preparing the world for higher expressions of truth. So what is the purpose of reincarnation? It is nothing less than the unfolding of divinity within us. We are not here by accident. We are not trapped in endless suffering. We are travelers on a sacred journey, guided by love, shaped by karma, and destined for awakening. And when at last we have learned all that earth can teach, we will step into greater realms, carrying with us the treasures of countless lives, not as separate fragments, but as the radiant wholeness of the soul. So the next time you wonder why you're here, remember this: you are not a victim of chance. You are not bound by despair. You are a soul on a journey, ancient, purposeful, and eternal. Every struggle is a stepping stone. Every joy is a reminder of your destiny. And the journey ahead, no matter how many lifetimes it takes, is leading you home. Now that you've heard the soul's journey according to Peter Richelieu, what do you think your own soul is here to learn in this lifetime?